Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to hang out with me and chat about your experience. So, I'd love to just ask you, why did you start working with me? And tell whatever you feel like sharing about your nutrition journey.
I smile because it's been a long journey. Um, it's been a lot. And I don't know if there's a short way to tell the story. I found you probably when I was at my wit's end, with what my situation was. Um, I have been an athlete my entire life, but I've always been identified as overweight based on BMI, and that's as far back as high school. When I look at my photos from high school, if I look like that today, I'd probably be running around with a lot less clothes on. But I was always told I was overweight every time I went to the doctor's office, and was always told, you have a family history of obesity and type 2 diabetes. You already need to be watching what you're eating. And so I was already getting the messaging at a very young age to be less, to be smaller than what I was, because it was considered unhealthy based on a single metric. I went through some things in my 20s, including a really bad relationship. I was teaching. I didn't really have work-life balance. And so all that stress in my life certainly impacts me. So I saw a huge change in weight between teenager to 20s and then 30s. And when I was in my mid 30s, I had a career change. I loved teaching and decided that I wanted to get myself back, my health back, and wanted to kind of tackle the weight issues that were piling up on me. I was looking at a lot of things like pre-diabetes, hypertension, and all those things that you discuss. And I didn't want to have those discussions in my 30s about being put on blood pressure medication and whatnot. So originally I contracted with what was called a nutrition coach, which I learned later on that not every nutrition coach is the same. And this person took what was considered like an open book test to get their certificate, and was using that to give out nutritional information. I found this person through my gym and started working with her, and I dropped 60 pounds in 6 months. And, I was before and after pictures. I was this miracle. I was very consistent. I was logging everything. I was color coding everything. I was working out 6 days a week. And, in my pictures, I looked great. I was a great selling point for this person. And then 6 months hit and I started plateauing, and I also didn't feel right. And I kept saying, I don't feel right. Something's off. I'm not losing any weight. I'm, starting to struggle with, I'm still struggling with sleep. I don't feel right. And, I was being told things like, well, you decided to have a beer a couple of weeks ago. That's why you're not losing weight. And it just was putting me in a place in which not only I was struggling even with food. I was feeling like, gosh, nothing I'm doing is right. And I can't even enjoy having a beer with friends without gaining weight. And um, I got to a point where the weight was no longer coming off, the weight was coming back on. And I was still eating what I was told to eat and doing the exercising. And now I was dealing with things like hairs falling out, can't sleep. I have brain fog. I can't even remember simple words. I remember being on the phone with my mom driving from a work trip and couldn't remember the word for freeway. I had to describe to her what I was doing. I thought I was having early onset dementia, and I was going into my primary care doctors, and my cholesterol was up and blood pressure was up and fasting glucose was up, and they're telling me I'm fat, and they're like, well, you'll feel better if you lose weight. And I kept saying, my weight is just a symptom of something else that was going on. And it was around that time that I started working with you, and I had it easy because you worked out at my gym. And you were such a big part of me learning to advocate for myself. And I think you were the first person ever in my life, medically healthcare position, to tell me that it was not food that was my problem. And you probably were the first person in my life to tell me that, you actually shouldn't be eating less, you should be eating more. And so since that, we've been working together, what, almost three?
For
years
years.
now, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And since then, it was a lot of time working on foundational pieces, sleep, stress management, giving myself grace to eat and understand what eating meant and meant fueling my body, and also giving up 6 days a week of CrossFit and running and switching up how I fuel and move my body. And I'm finally in a position where not only has that weight come back off, but it's stayed off. And I feel the best that I've ever had in my life. And I have friends who are my age who want to know what my secret is. And I have people that I meet that when I tell them how old I am, which I'm going to be 43 in May, they believe I'm 43, and they think, and they want to know what the magic, secret ingredient is. And I think I always refer them to you on working with all those things, because I think what I have dealt with is very similar to a lot of women, and a lot of the frustrations of feeling like you're doing everything you can and not having anybody one believe you, or being told, well, if you just eat less and move more, you'll lose the weight. And we know that that's a bunch of crap.
Yeah. And for you, it's been about really untangling in working with your other providers to untangle the medical piece. But like you mentioned, so much of the foundation working on lowering inflammation through food and lifestyle, working on supporting your guts, those have all been so important for you. How is your life different today? I would love for you to tell everyone like the amazing stuff you're doing today than when you first met with me.
Um, I just think it's just feeling good. Like I tell everybody, like, what was like my like aha moment with you. I think I remember way back when we first started working out, when you told me to like describe a good day to you, and I couldn't articulate what good felt like. I just always was like, I'm okay. I'm not falling apart, but I'm not, like, I just was like, and it hit me that I'm like, how can I not like even know in my mind what a good day feels like? And the answer was, I didn't even ever know what a good day felt like. And I have days now that even if work is stressful, or the gym workout is hard, there are days I wake up and I tell people I feel like Julie Andrews. I want to go outside and spin around and like start singing, because I feel so good in my body. And feeling good in my body means that I'm getting 8 hours of sleep consistently every night. And I'm doing that without having to use sleep aids like I used to. I was always on melatonin. I was using over the counter sleep medication to fall asleep and stay asleep. And I don't need to do that anymore. And I'm able to eat food and not have the digestive issues that I was having. I not dealing with concentration or brain fog issues. I can chase my 3-year-old niece around all weekend long and go to the gym and hit some heavy weights in the gym, and get up the next day and meet friends and go for a trail run. And I can do all these things in and out of the gym, and know that I'm not going to be broken afterwards, or that I have to sleep. I used to have to go home from the gym from a CrossFit workout and sleep for 4 hours, because my body just was like, I need sleep and I don't need a nap anymore. And it's so nice feeling the way that I do. And it's so funny because so many people say, oh, as you age, you hit 40, it's all downhill from there. Your body's going to fall apart. And I honestly feel better at 40 than I did in my 20s. Like, I don't feel 42. I don't think I look like I'm 42. I feel like I've in some ways reversed the aging process, because I'm doing things that I have coworkers who are in my 20s that can't do, because they can't keep up with me. And so for me, my life is so different. I'm training for my first powerlifting competition. I trail run with a group of friends. I paddleboard. I do intramural bocce ball and dodgeball with a community league. I watch my niece on occasion, who's 3 years old and full of energy. And I work a full-time job that I just got promoted in, and do a lot of travel and a lot of face forward work with the company. And I feel like I can do all those things. Like, I don't feel like I have to sacrifice one thing for the other. And it used to be that I had to sacrifice one for the other. If I wanted to be good at my job, it meant that I had to sacrifice my sleep. If I wanted to do well in the gym, I couldn't do things outside the gym. You know what I mean? So it's now not having to choose one thing or the other. I can do all these things.
Love what you said. It's so much about longevity and about learning how to feel good in your body. And I think you're an amazing example of how you can achieve that with food and with lifestyle and really leaning into loving yourself. Thank you so much for taking this time to share your story.